Hey, this is B Trades coming to you with another trade recap from Thursday, February 5th, 2026. We had a very big gap down, and then just a little bit of continuation, but we didn't really get too much expansion from the pre-market move down. And we did close a little bit lower, but overall much further down on the chart than where we had closed at on Wednesday. We did have to be patient again today to find our setup. And there was a nice, beautiful B zones trade again at the end of the day, which I didn't take, but I'm going to go over right now. First, let's jump into the pre-market analysis. Okay, so we did have an 8:30 red folder news this morning, which we didn't really get a big price reaction from. And we also had another red folder dropping at 10 a.m., which I always wait for anyway. So I recommended risk off until after 10. We opened below yesterday's total value area, and I was saying if we were to make it back up into yesterday's range, that would be something that we would look for price to traverse all the way through to the other side. Um, However, we did trade up towards yesterday's range, and at yesterday's low of day, we met a lot of resistance, and we never actually were able to close above that. We tried two times, and there was obvious signs in the order flow that the bulls were really trying to push price up, but were unable to. And tonight, after the close, the pre-market is kind of gapping down again. Um, but what I was saying was that the options market was showing negative gamma for contracts expiring today, and we were below the cloud. Um, and that we were so bearish the last 2 days as well that I was looking for price to continue downwards. So really, when you are bearish, the idea is to be catching the lower highs to be shorting from there. So my specific advice was we have bearish confluence. The 5 day had just crossed under the 20, which is a bearish trend signal, not necessarily an entry signal or a trade signal. But I said shorts only look to sell into strength at key areas. So like the previous day's value area, previous day's low of day, near the cloud, near VWAP. And so specifically, I said swings, sweeps of swing highs into B zones, and we're going to go level to level, consistent sizing, trade safe. Now we're going to jump into the charts and see what actually happened. So here we have today's chart, and you can see we opened and then started. We went down and then started coming up, which is typical behavior. Um, it's you don't really know what's going to happen. The price can do anything. There's a lot of standing orders in the first 30 minutes, and because of that volatility that doesn't really respect structure, it's one of the reasons I don't trade it. So you can see we actually came up into this level of yesterday's low of day and then rejected pretty hard. After 10 a.m., this would have been a good trade for me, but I was just staying patient. This was the 10 a.m. candle was right here, and we wicked up and then continued down, and I was just waiting for a retracement to again to catch that lower high. So we have a swing high here, swing low here, and as price retraced here, this wick swept this internal liquidity here. So then I was targeting external liquidity, and I entered here and I got a 5 to 1 just into the next zone. If I could have sat in this trade, I mean, eventually we did get to this external liquidity, but that would have meant giving back almost all my gains and going into drawdown. So my system is really based on just catching one level to level trade each day. And if you can catch a 5 to 1 every day, like regardless of your account size and what you're risking, you're going to be very, very profitable. Um, so the second trade that was presented within the B zone system was later on in the day, uh, right here. So we went up and retested that previous low of day from yesterday, came down, went up, and then on this drop, you can see that this is really aggressive selling and compared to this controlled selling, and we left behind some inefficiencies here. And this 5 minute fair value gap is right in the B zones level, and you have the cloud trending down, approaching it. And that's what you want to see is us approaching the cloud and then also having the confluence of a 5 minute fair value gap in the B zones level. And then we have all this external liquidity to target. And it's like trend line liquidity here from this low, this low, this low. And as soon as this candle engulfed, we got this beautiful double level move here, targeting this external liquidity. And one of the things I was talking to one of my students about earlier today on a call, one of the mentorship students was that big moves down are typically preceded by a fake out aggressive move up. So if you have consolidation and you start breaking down, it's probably not going to have extension. Like you want to see a manipulation before the large move. So that's just a little tidbit, something I picked up is that the moves that have follow through usually come after manipulation. So these candles actually building, and getting bigger and bigger are something that would induce traders to go long. But long is the last thing you want to do with all the bearish price action from this week. And you have this cloud with trending down, which is a clear bearish signal again with the 5-day moving average being below the 20-day moving average. There's just so many bearish confluences, and then you have lower highs being built in the market too, from the morning to here to here to here. This is the fourth lower high. And then you can see we have all this trend line liquidity to target as well. So, and then even if this trade doesn't work, you can stop up right above the sweep, like about 5 to 6 ticks above the sweep. And then if you can enter as soon as this candle is taking out this high, you can have a very, very tight stop with a huge risk to reward being offered, even if you just go level to level. So that's the second trade that was offered today. Go to the BTRADES bio.site that's linked in my bio. You'll come into this link tree. Basically, you have all the socials up here. Here's where you can access the Discord. Um, and then get access to the B zones levels or also the levels plus voice. And there's some other options on here too. But what I wanted to point out was this 49-day proof, which I think it's up to 60 days now with all linked to my Discord with timestamps. And that's going to take you to this spreadsheet. And I actually have a link to the YouTube trade recaps, like the one I'm doing now. And then if you click on any one of these, this is going to take you to that specific day, the pre-market analysis that I made. And then over here, you have the outcome of that day. So this is what I thought would happen. This is what actually happened. And the accuracy is actually very high. And this is a nice way to see the whole thought process from what I thought before the market opened to what actually happened, and then to hear my thoughts in video format. And then also there's going to be a summary card that's going to be linked over here. So I'm currently building this. It should be done in the next few days, but it's just like a living archive or journal for me, and also a way for people to verify what it is that I'm doing here. So go ahead and check that out if you want to. You will have to join the Discord in order to access these pages, but it's going to take you to this pre-market analysis that's posted every morning here. This was 4:25 a.m., which is 9:25 a.m. Eastern. Okay, and that's the trade wrap up for Thursday, February 5th. I also wanted to talk about the idea of being very selective and patient with your trades. Currently, I'm only taking 1 to 3 trades per day. And what I've found from working with a lot of different people is that most of the traders that I talk to, they have good analysis and they have basically a good strategy, and their win rate is actually positive. The problem is that even if they adhere to their strategy 70% of the time, the 30% of the time that they take a random trade or oversize, it ends up in an asymmetric loss, which kind of wipes out all their profits. So maybe 7 good trades within the strategy, properly sized, and then actually just 1 or 2 bad trades where you become a little bit careless, and then you wipe out all the previous gains. You blow your account. You don't take a small red day. That's something that actually has stuck in my mind that I learned from a trader a long time ago was it doesn't matter how much money you make because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose it all anyway. So really, to really know the true measure of a trader, you have to see their red days and see if they're willing to accept loss and if they have a probability mindset. So that's very difficult for us as humans to shift from this idea of we do all this analysis, now I want certainty, to saying I'm doing all this analysis and I can see that this setup is presenting my edge and I'm willing to pay whatever your risk is. I'm willing to pay $50, $100 to see if this trade will work. And then with the B zone system, 80% of the time it will. But again, as I said in a previous trade recap, that even an 80% system will have strings of 3 or 4 losses in a row. So it's very important in order to maintain profitability and to keep the math that you respect those losses and you use consistent sizing all the time because you don't know when that loss or string of losses will come. So if you have consistent sizing, which gives you enough space that you can lose and be wrong, then you'll be there to take advantage of the days when price action is easy and the moves are very obvious. And in reality, those are the trades that you should only be taking anyway. Like the trades that work out the best for me are the ones as soon as I enter, I'm immediately into profit. So if a trade is just kind of like dinking around, just get out of there. Because, another thing I've seen is that the longer that people sit in trades, for the most part, the more likely they are to lose. Like the trades where you're catching the expansion phase, should have very good feedback like pretty quickly. So then it's all about just finding your confluences that stack up and provide you with those opportunities that are somewhat obvious and that fit your system exactly, have all the confluences that you look for. And then to just stay away from those few bad trades that you're taking, which are tanking your whole system. All right, so any questions about any of that, go ahead, feel free to leave a comment or DM me. And this is B Trades. We're out. See you guys tomorrow.